Welcome back to Stratford Vibe Exchange. I'm your host, Karim Rushdy. We're filming live in Fresh and Free Studios inside of Nancy Campbell Academy, downtown Stratford. Today, we have with us a local legend, Kris Von Kleist, a.k.a. KVK, a.k.a. videographer extraordinaire, a.k.a. the magic capturer, a.k.a. the list goes on.
Oof.
How are you?
Oof, so good after an intro like that. It's like, can you export that, Victor? And I can listen to that every morning when I get up.
He will. For you, just for you.
Sick.
Every morning. You want the audio?
Yeah. I like to.
Or that could be your ringtone.
Ooh, whoa.
That's pretty cool.
Ringtone and maybe my voicemail.
We can do voices too. The local legend, Kris Von Kleist.
That would be a cool business.
AKA. And then just, yeah.
I would pay for that.
Okay.
Because it's one of those stale to-do items on my to-do list to update my voicemail voice.
It's actually on my list too. I don't even know what mine says right now, and I've changed what I'm doing in the world.
Exactly.
Oops.
And I think it'd be so much funner if someone like called me and had that as
Okay, what do you want it to? We'll do it right now.
Oh, how long can you get? Like
You've reached the voicemail of Kris Von Kleist, Stratford's premier videographer. Currently open for projects in 2025 and beyond. If you are calling about a project for this year, I'm losing the voice, but then you could say, please hang up now.
Yo, that's perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Even with the little mess ups, keep it organic.
Ooh, I'm a good fan of
the mess ups.
Me
too.
Like authentic. It's organic. Yes, polishing, but
I recorded a song with my students one time. This was when our school, Nancy Campbell, was in London.
Okay.
And because it started in Stratford, moved to London, and then moved back.
Right.
And I joined when it was in London.
Cool.
And basically, we had no studio there. So I was recording the song in the classroom. And I had about 25 students in the classroom, and everyone was being loud. And I had the mic set up just right there. And the students who were recording said, shouldn't we ask everyone to leave? And I was like, it's fine. It's part of the vibe. Just go. And they recorded. And actually in the recording, you can't tell. But if I was to solo the vocal track, you could definitely hear people chatting in the back. But when you add the drums and the synth and the stuff, you can't hear it. So I guess that's not really a mess up, but it's the concept of you can reach perfection or strive for perfection or excellence, which is a great thing. But on the path to excellence, we don't need to, cut too many branches off this thing. Let some branches just grow wild.
Yo, you gotta, and that's definitely where I am in my journey right now which I feel like we vibe in the intention part.
We totally vibe.
We totally vibe, period.
Yeah.
But when I approach a project or a project approaches me, especially now, it's taking time to delve into the intent of it. And similar to a seed of any type of plant that also grows.
Right.
What do I want it to grow into, or how can I contribute to the growth? And if it's supposed to be a tree, and I very much align with wanting to be a tree or vibe like a tree. I want to be rooted where my home base is, where my headquarters is, and I want to grow to the point where I can give off oxygen as well as take in CO2 to help in the furtherment of our existence. But we need people to be trees, but some people are very happy to be gardens that can be a garden here, and then when the season's done, they go and be a garden somewhere else.
Deep stuff. You're reminding me of my experience in Stratford when I came to visit for the first time. I sat on the bench by the water, actually just down from here. And I was pretty young. I think I was 17. And I sat on the bench and I saw the bird flying and it landed on a tree. And then I thought, I could be the tree or I could be the bird.
Ooh.
And then I said, I'm going to be the bird. I want to fly free.
Ooh.
I don't want to stay in Stratford for the rest of my life.
Mm.
So I flew free for a while. Then I found myself on the same bench maybe 5 years later. And I saw another bird
Whoa.
land on a tree. I think maybe even the same tree. I don't know. And then I thought, that tree, though, there's a power in that tree.
Mm.
I'm going to be the tree. I'm going to plant my roots. I'm going to, start family, yada, 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 And then another 5 years later, roughly, I found myself sitting on the same bench, seeing a bird land on a tree. And then I thought, I am energy.
Mm.
I can transform. I'm both. I'm a tree that flies. I'm a bird that plants roots,
Yo.
Oh,
Yeah.
you reminded me of that. I forgot. We have these profound moments that sometimes we forget.
Yo. And thank you for sharing that, because like it also adds to where I feel, or at least what I offered there in the tree analogy, which I very much align with. But you're totally right as far as extending that concept and reminding ourselves, well, at the end of the day, we aren't literally trees.
Yeah.
We are these beings that do have this vast ability to be many things.
Big time.
Is very brain wrinkling.
Brain wrinkling. So you say a human.
A human.
I actually have been wanting to ask you, so now I'm going to ask you on camera. Why do you say a human? Where does that come from? What does it mean?
Oh, yo. Thanks for asking.
It's the Vibe Exchange.
It's the vibe. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here. This is the 11th episode. So you're the first after the 10th, the first 10. So this is we had to get 10 of them out of the way to make way for you.
I vibe with 11 so much, and
really,
I can add to a numerology standpoint to that.
Please
after,
do. Yeah. After the a human thing.
A human.
Yeah.
I'm very much a human at this point in time that has, through my experiences, given me these perspectives of how I've been brought up in society. And being a more female presenting person and being given that, like being born as a female on my birth certificate, as many people will talk about now. It's a very, I would say, hot topic in the sense of like either passion will start firing or blood will start boiling, and everything in between. But I think it's a very in-depth and emotionally involved topic to
Big
be
time.
talking about, and more so in taking the time and space to talk about it, which is why I say thank you for asking, because to offer the space to just offer my perspective in being someone who was put in this gendered box where we as a society are, especially in the Western culture, but more so around the world, like we're conditioned that females are put aside in a lot of shapes and forms. And as a reminder, even here, women didn't even get the right to vote.
That's new. That's still fresh.
Yeah.
Technically.
And still being seen in how like my grandmother would conduct her life, and very admirably. Like I have so much love and respect for that. It's where we are right now in this point in time of who we are and what we're even being brought up to know, that we are capable to do many of things. And a lot of sadness has been instilled in my journey by being immediately brushed off because people will assume my characteristics based off of what they are physically seeing, which is diminishing in my humanity in some way. And I'm not the only one experiencing that. It's like my partner Claire and I, when we
shout out Claire.
Shout out
Claire. Had to be done.
It'll probably
happen a lot on this one. Yeah.
a huge. We have so much love for Claire, but similar, like also this creative in this female presenting identity, but very much aware. We're at this point where there is just this awareness of energies, and the terms masculine and feminine are used in many of ways, but at the core it's also energetics and yes, physical manifestations, such as, yes, people will argue that I look like a girl, so I am a girl, which again goes back to like you're diminishing everything else that is me. It's like you're just taking what you are physically tallying up based off of what we've grown up knowing,
right,
and then putting on this whole costume for me that I didn't want to put on, similar to like, you know, just clothing in general, which is where a human is just the realization where when Claire and I, before we eat dinner, we do like to take a moment of gratitude, a gratitude prayer. It's, again, we're very spiritual, but no, it doesn't, I was also raised Catholic, so I have this.
So do you make up your own prayer? Or
Yes.
do you have like a gratitude prayer? Oh, so you kind of say it like in the moment.
Yes, but it's very much gratitude, like stemming from what I believe was what good intentions are in Catholicism and any religion, like taking time to be thankful for, you know,
what you have,
the beautiful things we have. What always caught me was in Catholicism, at the end of anything, it's always amen. And to me, that just felt like we were excluding a whole half, if not more, of this.
Oh, because men. Oh, and never even thought of that.
And then again, that sticks out to me because a lot of my journey up until this point has been this challenge, or these obstacles of being able to even do what I'm doing right now has been in face of the statistics of when I went to film school. Less than 10% of any role behind the camera was still only women, so that left 90% of
Yes.
anything that we see video wise was predominantly in a male perspective, which it's nothing, it's more, I definitely come from the angle of equality of like we're all humans, and like I'm not gonna sit there and presume based off of how you physically present yourself to be what you are, because just because you're wearing a white shirt and black pants, like you look really presentable, but
I didn't realize I was wearing white and black. But my shoes are purple and yellow,
which is so fun. Like
that's cool.
That accent really does give this extended sense that there's probably some fun color there, but I won't really know until we sit down and have a conversation like this.
That's true. Yeah, like me wearing white and black doesn't mean I don't have a colorful personality.
Because in some shape or fashion, like you could show up like that and be like, oh, are you going to play golf? Or are you a business person on a day off?
Oh, thank you.
But, and yes, how you're going to interpret that presumption is going to depend. Like,
yeah, because if you dig into this example, the truth is I lost weight. So I had to buy new clothes.
Whoa.
And I just had to buy them quick. So I just went to Walmart and just bought clothes. Just boom. And it felt amazing. So the truth behind what I'm wearing now, and didn't think anything about what it looks like. I was just thinking about, well, it fits. It's because I got sick, so I had to change my diet. So the byproduct of getting healthy was losing weight. But the consequence of that was my clothes didn't fit anymore. They were falling off my body and swimming in my shirts and pants falling off. Literally, even with the belt, I had to make new holes in my belt.
Ooh,
but it feels good, and my organs are happy.
Like, kudos and way to go.
Thank you.
Like,
Thank you.
that's so amazing.
So would you say that you're kind of, it sounds to me, because you just said a lot of profound, deep things. I just asked you, why do you say a human? You went into a really, really deep topic, and you said it's kind of a hot topic right now, but I would argue it's the hottest of topics in Canada anyways, where we are. As you go to different parts of the world, there's different topics that are hotter. But here right now, because I'm also a high school teacher, so I know even with the kids right now that it's a hot, hot, hot topic. And with parents too, because I've been in touch with parents. Parents are also trying to figure out what's all this stuff going on right now with identity and gender and all these things. So I'm really happy you brought it up. I didn't know A Human would lead to that. But I just, so my question for you would be, are you sort of interested in challenging the existing or the previous sort of structures of the roles of gender, the gender roles in our society? Because you kind of touched on that when you said, because I was born a female, people will look at me and then dress me in a way. And I think I saw deep into the dress me, meaning I would dress you with a conception of how you should act and behave, what you should do, what you can and can't do. I don't know if that's what you meant, but that's why I'm kind of sharing it back to clarify. And so if that is sort of what you were implying, then is that something you're sort of interested in your daily journey through our society, to challenge that and say, like, those roles, it didn't work, it's not okay, so let's do something different? Is that sort of where you're headed?
It definitely feels a part of my path at this point in my life, where I am emotionally evolved, emotionally matured enough to have more of a third party look on my journey up until this point.
Third party look, I like that. Right.
How do we really know how to deconstruct a situation until we're far enough or healed enough from that point in time, especially as we all know in adolescence and even in our childhood, we're not equipped yet with the vocabulary or the articulation, at least not in my time, to really understand what I was feeling internally versus what was being told or conditioned to me. And I use conditioning more so in the sense of, well, what exactly conditioning is right. the average or the consensus of the higher authority, let's say, determining to be what should be taught. Like, this works for our government or our country right now, so let's continue teaching it to continue that forward.
Right. Which is not a developmental approach.
I didn't feel like I experienced a lot of room to experiment or a safe space to even have the conversations, to exercise the what ifs. It was always this is it. Right. No ifs. This is it. Right. And luckily, I've been blessed with enough people influentially, were these subtle examples or hints towards that. No, I didn't have to continue in a certain way or manner, but it was definitely a challenge from my childhood up until even my 20s. Like, I'm coming to the end of my 20s now, and
oh, you're so young. What?
Not to,
congrats on being young.
Oh, congrats.
Do you feel young?
That's another brain wrinkle of life.
Brain wrinkle.
Every day I'm here, I can only compare it to how long I've been here.
Yeah, right.
And
perspective.
I'm very much someone who, when a birthday rolls around, I'll be more like, thanks for still being here, or I'm still here. I made it this far. Yay.
Right. Gratitude. So gratitude seems to be a theme with you, which is very powerful, because what I've understood of life so far is that gratitude is a sign of spirituality, and entitlement is a sign of materialism. which is when I first heard that, kind of opened my mind, and I've been spending the past 5-6 years really digging into that, and I was just trying to observe it in the world, and I see examples. And so same with you, like we vibe immediately, and I also am a very grateful person. I'm so thankful every day, you know, and that's the reason I changed my diet, because I'm so thankful for my family. I thought if I die right now just because I like burgers, you know, I love deep fried things and sugar, that's the reason I'm gonna die. Like, that's not, I'm too grateful for what I have with my family to let that go because of some stupid eating choices, you know.
That hits.
So yeah,
That
gratitude
hits. Gratitude. And I want to, like, yeah, the gratitude train also kind of lines up in the same route of where we were initially talking, as far as this identity hottest
yeah
topic.
hottest.
Hottest.
We gotta add a sound effect. Bow, 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 bow. Identity.
Victor, do you want to do a sound bite?
Sound bite.
Yeah. Especially the way I see identity now is an invitation that I am giving you based off of what I'm telling you of myself. So, for example, yes, at this moment, I more so align with the identity of gender non-binary, and more so in the sense of I'd rather not even bring gender into even a discussion like this, because at the end of the day, just because you may identify as male, which, like, do you?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah, just because you identify as male, and just because I was conditioned to understand all of these prerequisites or characteristics of what a male should be conducting in a day-to-day, I'm not going to, at least I'm exercising not letting that be how I'm going to perceive this conversation here and now. And similar to, just because...
So you're talking kind of also about prejudice.
Yeah.
So you're not going to, you know, have a preconceived thought or notion about what I may or may not do based on my gender, my presenting gender.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's like as simple as the way I'm dressed today, for example, and I did use like
Vibelicious.
Oh, thank you. And like I vibe with this. And I would say the stereotypical...
I didn't see the boots till now.
The boots are awesome.
Amazing.
Love the boots. The whole fit, rate my fit. I think my fit is a 10 out of 10 for me, but that doesn't mean I won't walk down the street, especially even with my hair here and there. Like, I can sense people looking, and to me, that is an external exercise of reminding people that we don't always have to conform to the cookie cutter.
The cookie cutter.
Which cookie cutters are great. It's efficient. You know, it keeps the system going. But to me,
but that's good for cookies. Like, we're human beings.
Yeah.
A cookie cutter. Like, I believe in God, and I don't think God used a cookie cutter. I think God made each one of us unique. I mean, maybe there's a God algorithm or something. I don't know how it all works, but somehow every one of us is completely different. That I know. That's from my own observation of people, and really reflecting deeply with everyone I meet and saying, like, there can be some similarities. You know, sometimes you vibe well with somebody. Sometimes you don't, you know. But regardless, we're all so unique. So it's interesting, though, because I think that what we were talking about just before we hit record was something I'm very passionate about right now. Because, this is a hot topic. Sure, you could say it's divisive, the topic of identity. You could also say the topic of COVID vaccines is divisive. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that for the algorithm on YouTube. It's fine. But what I'm interested in is, how do we create an environment or spaces, human social spaces, where we're allowed to just share what's on our mind. Just share. Okay, you think that. Okay, maybe I think something different, and we're still friends. And we can go away from there saying, I shared my piece, and let's all reflect on it.
Yes.
Because how can any one of us claim to know these things in full truth? We don't. I don't agree with that. I do personally agree with some divine teachings. You know, we can learn from divine teachings for sure. To me, that's a source of truth. And when you read them, like every major religion of the world has at its core the same teaching, which is called the Golden Rule, which is treat your neighbor the way you wish to be treated. So that's at the core of all of them. So you can look at what someone's doing in a religion in the name of that religion. And are they treating their neighbor the way they wish to be treated? No. Okay, so they're actually not staying true to the teaching.
Right.
So it's not, we can't slap the label of, oh, that's what the Christians did. No, that's what that person did, or that group of people, which actually, you know, Christ is watching and saying like, yeah, it's not exactly what I, you know, was going for.
and that's where the word tragic comes to mind, where it's quite a tragedy to know that at the core of all of these religions is this moral compass and belief system that, yes, connects you to this divine source that you share with God, or this higher level, this thing that is beyond ourselves, or energy, that it gets so tainted with political standpoints, which is what has happened historically. Yeah. Like the story of Christ, even historically, he's Yahweh. Jesus is the translation from the like the original text. When you think about where it actually happened, it was not in English, and his name wasn't actually Jesus, and it's been this telephone game through all the translations. Like he was.
Telephone's a great game, by the way.
It is, but
do it all the time with the students.
And it's a great message at the end.
Yes.
And that can be where. That's pretty much what I'm getting at here, as far as things got lost in the mix, and a lot of historians will look at the story of Yahweh, or Jesus, to be more political than anything. He was quite a politician in the sense of what he was.
Like revolutionary concepts, is that what you mean?
Yes, and being a voice for the oppressed then, because at that time, it was still whatever religion was the mass was connected with who was in ruling, and at that time it was, I forget the name of the king then, but because he was king and he was this type of faith, that is what most people should have been. But you also have to be a certain class as far as being able to support the church, or giving to whoever's going to be the priest, to be the, like, you're adding to their salary. And that's traveled all the way here, like, in part of like my upbringing in Catholicism, and why I now going back to identifying, like I don't no longer align with calling myself a Catholic. Right. I've practiced that because that's how I grew up. I'm spiritual because I've done work in uncovering what within it that I did enjoy or did align with, but what within it did not. And a lot of the things that didn't line up were the segregations and the force that Catholicism took from how, like, the Bible even started, and how Rome even started, like the Vatican, as far as like taking the testaments from these apostles that Paul brought over to the Vatican, to Rome, to the ruler at the time. And Roman Empire at that time, they were still believing in all of their gods. If you're familiar with any Roman mythology or Greek mythology, that was still very much intact then. But here is this Paul, like the last apostle, coming up to Rome and being like, I have this book of these accounts from all these 12 people. And like in this is this person who is very much connected to God. That's better than all of your gods, and that's how they interpreted it. And this is all worth like a Google for anybody who's interested. But like the end of that story was like Paul was imprisoned, and then the empire took the accounts and then made the Bible, and like the Roman Catholic Church was instilled from that point. And continued to like in conjunction with war and power, like it just kept traveling, which is where I say tragic, because the argument is that they were trying to bring upon this message of goodness and love and yes, how to treat your neighbor, but in doing that they're taking over what was already being
right.
And like this,
so it's like you can't achieve justice through injustice.
Yeah.
In a way.
Like, and same with COVID vaccines and like the topic of identity and opinions, but more so perspectives in general. It's like, how do we take time and space to allow voicing it first without forcing it?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I will say I'm not I won't vibe with, is to feel forced upon.
Yes. Yeah. I think what you're touching on is actually a concept that I've learned through the Baha'i faith growing up, which is called consultation. It's super practical, but I don't see people doing it. What I see people doing is, while you're talking, I'm just waiting for the moment to crush you with my thought or whatever, or I'm actually going to cut you off even, because no, this is the thought. But consultation would state that I need to speak my truth, my opinion, my heart in its full extent. Don't hold back. But I need to do it in a way that I need to be thoughtful of others and their hearts as well. Because I should never want to hurt anyone. So yes, I speak what I think, for sure. I shouldn't be controlled to not share what I think. I should share what I think, but I should share what I think in a way that's mild as milk, which is not easy. So that's just how to talk in my understanding of the Baha'i approach to consultation. Then it goes deeper. So we're maybe consulting, could be you and me, it could be a group. And then you do the same and I do the same. We're sharing our I'm not holding back because I think, you may not agree with that, or, no, this is what I think exactly about whatever the thing is we're talking about. Boom, there it is. You do the same, and then we detach ourselves from what we said. That's no longer my thought. That's a thought that we all put on the table.
Yes.
And we want those thoughts to actually clash a little bit. But it's not my thought and your thought clashing. It's just two thoughts that we happen to place on this table. Yeah. Because we're the ones having the consultation. Yes. So the thoughts are clashing, and the concept is a new truth will emerge. Yes. Or the truth will emerge from that clash. And not a clash in a aggressive way, or like maybe there's a better word to use, but no, it's a clash, because we could think it's a totally opposite thing. But our goal is not for me to convince you of my thing and you to do that to me. Our goal is that we're trying to achieve unity of thought. Yes. And not through a cookie cutter approach. So it's so challenging. And I think I've only seen that one time. And there's a process in the Baha'i community where we elect the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of a country. I went to that event, and there's a consultation from what are called delegates, like these elected representatives from different regions. Anyways, this is too much info, but basically, then all those delegates go to a place, and then Baha'is are welcome to go and observe. I went as an observer, and I cried 3 times that weekend. Cool. I couldn't control myself, And I was thinking, why am I crying so much? And then I realized I just witnessed consultation. People from all over the country passionately sharing their thoughts about I forget even what was talked about. But everyone would share their passionate thought and opinion, also in a way to hopefully not hurt others, but not holding back at the same time. Like, it's so intense, and then detaching.
Yes.
And oh man, it's emotional to even think of now, because we don't do that.
Yes. No,
I don't see examples of it anyways. Maybe you have. I haven't.
It's definitely something that I internally work on when having conversations, more so now at this point, but because earlier in my life I've definitely found myself in situations where ideas of clash would happen, but the attachment of that idea and standpoint more so, and I think that's more egoic and primitive, like that's like our historical primitive way of being is to fight, like in the stress response of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Ego will attach to being able to fight and stand the ground.
Stand the ground, exactly.
Which it's a very delicate conversation as well, in that to even think of a situation where fighting is and defining how you fight is also where that comes up. But being able to, in that situation, detach. But I wasn't like young enough, still not really understanding or having a self-awareness at all, or a moral compass intact. Like I would say my moral compass, as I would imagine, and I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's very relatable in an adolescent time in our life. We can feel lost. And
definitely,
I now can equate that to not having my moral compass in calibration. It wasn't calibrated yet. And only because in our adolescence, we are given so much information. And even now, and it's going to continue, which is why what we're talking about right now is so important, to be able to digest ideas and thoughts in a healthy way.
Right.
Because the capacity at which we are given new information is only accelerating. Hence why things like ChatGPT is in existence, because we think it's efficient to continue that momentum. But momentum is about building.
Yeah.
So detach our egos.
Detach the ego.
Like being able to let it go. And one of the most profound things that have been shared with me on my journey, and it's one of those things that were said, I do believe the person who shared it with me was saying it from a place where they hold on to it dearly, and I'm grateful that they shared it with me. But it was at one of my first work places here in Stratford, and I developed a really strong relationship with my authority or my superior, like the people who are giving me the paychecks. But we definitely aligned on, or at least a lot of what I learned in an overall health respect, like how to take care of my body, but in turn taking care of my body, I'm also taking care of my mind, and in turn my spirit.
Right.
This person, it was right after some kind of confrontation, and I was sharing in a safe way, like, or believing I was sharing in a safe way what this confrontation just happened. And they shared that in any situation, there's always going to be, especially in an opposing situation, there's always going to be your side, my side, and the truth. And it's very difficult to ever think that you can have an argument and be at both points in a triangle at the same time, because I'm offering my perspective and you're offering yours, and mine and yours are not, like, we're literally coming at the opposing side. But the reality
totally
is
different.
There is always going to be that third point. We are living in a 3-dimensional world, if not more. So why do we only look at things
one way? Wow. That's some gangster stuff. So now you've been applying that. This was a while ago.
Yeah, that was my early 20s, which that was at a time where I was experiencing, I would say, the most friction in my identity, or my self-identity, or self-discovery more so.
Right.
That was height the heightened point of my self-discovery journey. But more so because the conversation of self-value also comes in, and knowing
Right.
how to really care for ourselves.
Big time.
The adolescent outlook, at least that the one I had, was I always looked at the word being careful, or the phrase being careful, as something so not risk-taking.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that as the opposite of risk-taking.
Oh, okay.
And from what I understood back then, you can only achieve certain things if you take the risks.
Right.
But I totally overlooked that what careful actually means is going about it full of care.
Full of care.
And
Taking risks.
yeah, and you can still take careful risks.
Let's put that on a t-shirt and sell it to each other. Full of care, taking risks. That's actually a good slogan. Okay, sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, I'd wear that t-shirt.
I'd wear it. I'd wear it right now.
Claire
Claire? Claire? Shout out Claire. Make that shirt, please.
design.
Full of care, taking risks. It actually is quite powerful. Wow.
It took some time to like really register that.
I think the simple statements like that are the tip of the iceberg that show us the wisdom beneath them. That's what I've learned. And anyone who has sort of these sort of simple statements like what you've just shared, that shows me you've generated wisdom. You've developed wisdom. And because you're actively trying to, what I would call putting spiritual principles into action. So you don't have some sort of spiritual principle. In this case, it would be, being careful or whatever it is. You don't just think about it theoretically only and talk about, oh yeah, such a great thing. But then you're not full of care at all in your daily life. You're saying, okay, what is that? Let me try that. Do I want that? I don't want that. Maybe I want it. What is it? As you go through life and there's confrontations and experiences, then you're reflecting.
Yeah.
So that process of action and reflection is the rhythm of development. And so that rhythm and that rhythm develops wisdom, in my opinion. And so that's why you will never end your journey. Neither will I. Because who are we? Who you were in your early 20s is not who you are now at the end of your 20s.
Nah.
And I'm in my mid 30s right now. Looking back to the end of my 20s, I was a different person. And I'm a different person now. And I'll be a different person in the next 5 minutes because you're going to say another thing. It's going to thing. And then I'm going to apply it tomorrow, Because that's something that we really are missing as well in our society, is putting spiritual principles into action. And one thing has to do with racial unity in this day and age, even with identity, because you are someone putting it into action. You're really out there and doing your thing, and you're trying to figure out who you are, and now you know who you are, and but you're still open-minded. I can tell all these things, so I respect that a lot. But I've also met a lot of people who don't even know what they're talking about when they talk about the identity and gender, and it's what I call lip service. And anytime they're challenged with a moment of challenge, it goes out the window. It's like, okay, so you didn't really, but also with race, people say, oh yeah, all people with all different skin colors are equal. And then, okay, so what are you doing about it? Like, what are you doing about it? We're here at Nancy Campbell. We have students from all over the world in our school. And just in the first 3 days of this school year, 2 of our students have been called the N-word in Stratford. So what are we talking about? Like, so who is out here? But then a lot of messages I hear is, oh yeah, we're inclusive and it's good. It's like, okay, maybe some of us are, but we're not all there. And so that's okay too. I'm not angry. Like, I am a little frustrated, but I see it as, okay, what's the lacking spiritual principle?
Yeah.
And that one is the elimination of prejudice. Because that's what I think you are talking about. I think that's what you're fighting for. Talk about a fight. You're fighting to eliminate prejudice. Just because you look like a woman doesn't mean it should equal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You know, yes, you were born as a female. You know, you have the organs to create another human being, but that doesn't mean you can't pursue film just because it's only men in film, and it's so on, and the list goes on, right? And so to me, like you're fighting what I would call the good fight, you know, which is elimination of prejudice. And that's something we need in Stratford when it comes to skin color as well. It's not enough. Whatever we're doing, whatever we think we're doing, we're probably mostly talking about it and not actually doing. I include myself in that strongly. And so, and it's hard when you try to do something because you're faced with a challenge. So I reported these incidents to the police, but not actually, because I called, no answer, left a message, no response, and now I'm living my life. And so, and this is also reminding me, like, oh, I need to follow up. What am I doing? You know, not much. You know,
it's a challenge. That is such a challenge, and I consider myself an ally in adversity, especially. Yes, race is huge because that is like another physical presentation that, like, you see it directly. The only places I can definitely empathize with is who I am in my partnership with Claire as two people who, again, physically are more female presenting. We are in the LGBTQ2IA plus community. It's quite it's literally a rainbow, but it's...
Are you offended if I say legibitiquitica? I saw it on a TikTok.
No, and that's...
Just kidding.
No, and like, as far as being open-minded goes, it's like, I also exercise and do feel I'm at a place where to feel offended, I will more so only feel offended when I can energetically feel you are attempting to give something in that context, right, or in that energetic. Like, if you're deliberately trying to make me feel diminished as a human, that's where it's like, yo. And where I was going was, Claire and I have experienced similar things in the community, and one of which being recent enough that it was a reminder of exactly that, some kind of prejudice, which, to give you the long and the short of the story, as being partners and exhibiting and having this love, which I believe partnership is, it's like being a support person for someone else, and to be able to experience like human connection, affection, to whatever capacity you can give at that point. Anyway, Claire and I just finished at the gallery she was working at. I was helping her do something there, and we walk around the corner, and we are about to part ways because I was going to this lunch I needed to go to, and so we kiss goodbye. Just a subtle kiss on the street. You know, we didn't think anything of it because...
How dare you?
But that's exactly what we experienced. Someone in a truck right beside us proceeds, as we're like mid-peck kiss, you know, a huge honk starts happening right beside us. And of course we're alarmed. We're like, what's going on? So we like separate, and that's our immediate go-to reaction, is to separate, because we know it's still being interpreted as not completely being accepted yet or understood. So we separate, and we take a few steps back from the truck to see what's going on. And sure enough, it's this white male. I can only say he's older than like maybe 70s or more, and he is yelling at us through his window, and like he looks super upset. And all I could do to process in that moment, I'm like still perplexed and confused as to what he was upset about. So we stand there a little bit longer, and long enough that he was so annoyed that he starts to roll down the window, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? And he said, he said, no. I'm paraphrasing, but he did use the F word a few times. No, I'm not effing okay. I'm effing sick, but not as effing sick as you both are. Take your effing sickness away from here. I don't want to effing see that. And then proceeds to roll up his window again and gives us the middle finger. Claire and I were going to separate, but at that point, I just felt the need to, okay, well, now I'm going to walk her to the car. But also, it being the day and age that we're in, she stops and takes a photo of his truck and license plate. Because it being 2023, luckily that was a smart reflex for where we go after. But he could tell that we were taking photos, like his information. And we both get into our car again, but we were parked down an alleyway where it was you can only drive in and back up. So as soon as we get into the car, this gentleman I don't know if gentleman is the term, but
non-gentle man.
He was definitely not being gentle in that situation. Starts his truck, and then parks it in front of that laneway. So it was definitely,
you can't get out.
It was a weird, and maybe it was only 2 minutes that went by, but for Claire and I in that car,
that would feel like a century. Yeah, that's
all the questions running through our heads of what is he doing and what is he thinking after what he just did.
Yeah.
Luckily, he leaves, and then we proceed to also start to leave, and thinking, okay, that's the end of that. It continues only because we took the photo of his license plate, and it was a Tuesday, so like it was Tuesday afternoon. We still had things in our day, and this is where the harm of harassment like that kind of sets in. Of like, we didn't have that time right then and there to really process, because in my mind I still needed to go and do this other thing, and so I go about doing that thing, and Claire goes back home to do her errands, and an hour goes by and I get this call from Claire, and it's not even a hello, but it's this distress voice of hers saying that he came to our house.
Oh my God.
And I'm sharing all this because it was this afternoon that unraveled into this evening where we finally did take those photos that we took of his license plate, and brought them directly to the police station.
Okay.
And especially now, we were hesitant to go to the police station because given everything that has unfolded, and more so what we see in the media, like the police and how it handles marginalized groups of people is very uncertain, or at least they've been outed to or called upon to really step up how they are considering these marginalized groups. And so we did go, and we were gratefully surprised by the officer that did tend to us. He took the matter very seriously, to the point where, because we had the license plate, he was able to go to
follow up
to his house.
Wow.
And let him know that, like, what he did by showing up to our house. And mind you, this gentleman who showed up to our house, in the moment, it's very concerning, because A, how did you find out where we live? But B, like, what are you here to do now?
Yeah.
But he starts to try to apologize to Claire, who usually would always see who's at the front door. We have a bay window that we can see who's on the porch before answering. But of course, it was this one time where she just went right to the screen door, and there was this gentleman who we just had this altercation with, and he tries to apologize, and by saying what he did was rude, which, okay. But then Claire continues and says, like, still very jarred by him being there, kind of agreed and was like, yeah, that was extremely disrespectful. We all live on the same planet. Like, we have to be nice to each other. And he then retorts, well, I don't know about extreme, like it wasn't extreme, but
Mm.
I do acknowledge that I was doing something wrong in the eye of the public, I imagine is where he was coming forth. But all that to say, like, yes, the police were more than helpful, right down to the point where this particular officer even asked what my pronouns were, which, like, that is, I think, a huge step in some regard for sure. But our processing in that experience, and also connected to when he rolled down the window and I asked him if he was okay, is like taking note that there is something, like the root of his hate is something internally that has not been addressed or released or healed. It's like, and something that I can definitely attest to from my own personal experiences of, especially in the topic of identity and even sexual identity, feeling like that is something that I need to just keep inside, because for what I'm being taught, it is not the way of living that is going to best suit my peers or my neighbors. And even though by doing that I am burying this truth of myself so deep within that eventually it just starts fermenting,
right?
And which I can only feel most hatred being exhibited like that is a truth that is fermented to the point where even the person exhibiting that hate doesn't understand
where it's coming from or why even. I think it's so powerful. First of all, I'm sorry you had to go through that in my community.
Well,
in your community, in your own community, in any community. But I think it's what you've just shared. This story is a lesson to those. Like, I hope my students watch this, because we're trying to reflect as a school. How do we help our students? You know, when they're faced with these moments, which unfortunately is quite frequent. So, and I think you've shared a great point of wisdom, which is someone who's doing that kind of behavior is not an evil person. It's someone who has something fermenting within them, some sort of hate within them. And we know that hate is just a lack of love. That's all that it is. Hate's not even a real thing, in my opinion. Actually, we can go deeper than that. There's forces at play in our society at any given moment. These forces of integration, which bring people together and build unity in diversity. Or there's forces of disintegration, which are pulling people apart and creating division. And they're forces. They're not people. The forces can take over a person from time to time. And any one of us is actually susceptible. 100%. So it takes daily, rigorous, concerted effort to choose which force am I allowing in. Exactly. And which force am I putting out into the world. And it's a daily, if not moment to moment. So you and Claire were faced with a moment there. And in the moment, you were able to say, are you okay? You know, that to me is powerful. And kudos to you for being able to do that. And I'm sure you had the next few weeks of really that messing with your head. I'm certain, because then now you know, can you walk down the street? You know, so your own idea of being able to exist is in question, and who else is going to do that? You know, it's a lack of safety. But you know, people talk about safe spaces, but I just heard something from a friend, which is brave space. And so I think that's sort of the other thing, because we can't just go around having everything be super safe. I mean, physically safe, yeah, we have to, but in terms of a challenging thought, for example. I've heard some people define a safe space as where nothing will be said that will ever like offend me. And I actually respectfully disagree, because if you're never being challenged with your thought, you're not growing, you know. You need to be challenged. You should actually be, my stepdad seeks out uncomfortable situations. I love his example of approaching life. Yeah. Because if I'm not getting uncomfortable, what am I doing? I'm not growing, you know? So I need to grow. And the way to grow is that if I'm feeling that sort of butterfly thing. Like, ooh, that's not what I am about. It's like he loves that. He lives in that mode,
Oof.
you know? And so that to me is the concept of like a brave space. Like I need to be brave and enter this space and be open minded to hear things that I may not agree with. But sorry, I went a little off topic there, but
No, that's, I think,
we don't even have a topic. We're just going. What are we? Oh, I forgot we were on a podcast right now. Welcome back to Stratford Vibe Exchange.
whoa.
I thought we'd be talking about video work, but this is
Yo.
way more deep. Although it's all connected.
I believe, yeah, like,
Let's make a video about Stratford and the forces at play. But it's a story, like a film, like a short film. That's a story of a few of these people who are receiving this energy, but then facing it with bravery and love. And actually, in the end of the story, those who have that hate and prejudice in their hearts remove it because it's replaced with something more powerful. And let that be a story that gets shared.
Yeah. I love that. I
do
would
it.
love that.
How much budget you need? Who's watching? We need to support
Okay.
Kris to make this film. $1 million.
How many stories do you think? Should we start with like 1?
1, 3, 4, 5.
If we did, let's say 10 minutes for each, less than 10 minutes for each story.
Yeah.
And there was 3 or 4. 30. That would be like a solid 8-day shoot.
8-day shoot.
And the type of crew. I mean, we're both people, multifaceted artists who can wear many of hats, Victor included.
Yep, Victor.
Literally
Victor's already hired.
Multi-camera setup.
Yeah.
Multifaceted, multi-camera.
And he plays cello. And he's a paramedic, so he could be the nurse on site. I mean, paramedic on site, whatever it is.
Hot diggity dog,
Yeah.
Victor. That's okay. Well,
Yeah.
there's the set first aid.
First aid.
We already got some kind of a soundtrack.
Soundtrack, easy.
Ooh. Oh.
Okay. That's done. What else we need?
Wow, we'd need the lights. We'd need to rally the troops, to help it feel like efficient.
Yes.
If the script or if the story has dialogue, do we need someone to be on the sound, location sound?
Right.
Are there locations? Like how many?
Mm-hmm.
How many characters?
Right.
We would want to pay them.
Everyone has to get paid.
Yeah. I think we could definitely do it. 50,000 comes to mind.
Not bad. That's it?
We
So triple it, right?
Yeah.
If you're thinking 50,000 8 days, it's probably 32 days and 150,000.
To consider the post-production that would go into it, and like all the like the sound design and the music, the sound.
I just know because I made a spreadsheet last night because I have so many endeavors in life, and I was telling you earlier too, like I'm not as inspired. Why? Oh, because my goals aren't big enough. So in the spreadsheet, I start actually just not thinking, ooh, how much money could I like maybe get? I'm like, no, what's the ideal thing? And just write it down. Boom. And pay people well. Boom, 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 boom. And now I'm dealing in my mind, not in real life. In my mind, I'm dealing in millions of dollars as of last night.
Good.
For the first time.
Good.
So that's why I'm like, okay, 50 grand. Like normally I would say like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But right now I'm like, that's not that much money.
No.
Like, what are we talking about? We're talking about building unity in our community. How do you put a price on that?
And
you can't.
The conditioning of how money is perceived is such a unhealthy relationship to it.
Yeah.
It's also some type of toxic relationship of not understanding. Well, it goes back to our identifying ourselves or knowing ourselves to know what our needs are. Like how much do we actually need in a day to feel at peace? And more than at peace, how do we feel happy and energized enough to then go out and contribute to our community?
Yeah.
And if, for example, if mine was to have a roof over my head, have enough food in my fridge to feed my stomach that does make noises sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um,
Especially when you're intermittent fasting.
oh, I've done that.
Mm.
I've straight up fasted before.
Mm.
I got 14 days in.
Oh, wow.
Dangerous,
Yeah.
but whole other thing.
That's a whole other can of worms.
But intermittent fasting
Yeah.
is but valuing, being able to value yourself and understand the energetics of money, basically.
Yeah, right.
Because
Energetics.
Actually,
Money.
money.
I've never heard that. I said, yeah, right. But I was like, wait, what?
The way I perceive money, which has come from this new interest and hobby of numerology, which I discovered during COVID, during the pandemic times, through this book called Your Name is Your Destiny, or Your Destiny is in Your Name.
Okay.
It's like from the 70s.
Oh,
But it's
cool.
this introduction to numerology. But within it, there's a spiritual element to it, because it talks about flipping the outlook of us believing that, our parents made us, so they made us be here.
Mm.
But that's totally disregarding any, soul energetic of, well, if we are uniquely us because of that energy of our soul, then where does that soul come from? And in religions such as Christianity or whatnot, our souls are like in this heavenly realm or this other realm. And we decide, like, numerology is on point with this soul energy deciding, like, we chose this path, we chose this existence to further our soul energetics, as well as in collaboration with other humans or other souls that we're meeting, to collectively evolve, to collectively, like, raise our vibration to who knows. It's just like, let's just keep moving up. And I bring that up because in a quick summary, because I have a spiel when it comes to numbers, but numbers essentially is the universal language. All language is built off of numbers, or all languages incorporate numbers.
Okay.
And it's...
You captured my attention.
it's similar
Good
to...
spiel so far.
It's very historically true. It's like in every language and or culture, one is going to mean the same thing. One is one. And all numbers are built off of the initial 9 numbers, 1 through 9. And the reason why those are so special is because those are the only single digit numbers.
Right.
Which everything beyond 9 are built upon those initial 9.
Right.
And you'll see in many cultures, from when you get a fortune cookie from a Chinese store, or like every door or address has a number. To cipher our names, like each letter of the alphabet has the energetic of a number. Like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and so on and so forth.
Right.
But when it starts to double, so in the alphabet, for example, like once we get to J is the 10th number. Numerology, to me, and from what I understand of the research I've done, it's the idea of always simplifying. We're always bringing it back down to the essence.
Okay.
So 10 is 10, and you think that's so much better than 1. But in actuality, when we just funnel it back down, and in math terms, mathematically, in the simplest terms, it's only addition or subtraction to, like, funnel it back down. To multiply and to divide and to find the square root, like, we're complicating it a little bit further than sometimes we need to. But
don't tell your math teacher. Just kidding.
Math is, well, I mean, it's still important. The fundamentals of that type of understanding does come. Shout out Miss Marion. She was one of my
Miss Marion.
Miss Marion. But
Yeah.
definitely not where numerology was taught. It was,
Mm.
and because, yeah. In the case of J is the 10th letter. To simplify the energetics of a J, you add 1 and the 0 together. So 1 plus 0 is 1. So J has the energetics of a 1.
Whoa.
You continue down that for this example being it's English that we're speaking.
So I just cracked the numerology code of why 11 is important to you.
Yeah, because
K, VK.
yo,
K is 11, the 11th letter.
and
Maybe that's part of it.
it's exactly.
I said it with confidence, but I have no idea. I just, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, no, you're totally tapped in, right?
Let's go.
Okay, a quick further ride into this train of thought.
Yeah.
Yes. In that same train of thought, when we get to K, the one other thing we won't ignore is when one of those initial 9 numbers are vibrating off of itself. So in the case of 11, that is 2 of one of the initial 9
Right.
doing the same thing to each other.
Mm.
So it's essentially amplifying the vibe. In numerology, that's what is called a master number. But
Okay.
from what I understand of it, it's more so an indication when doing a reading of someone for their name, for example. When I
Right.
do readings, I go through your entire name to find out the number energetics. And in doing that,
Sweet.
when we find master numbers,
I want to get energized. Energeticized.
Karim. How do you spell Karim?
K
Yo.
A
Mm-hmm.
R I M.
You also got a K in there.
I
Yeah.
wish we were closer. Oh, we got it. Yeah.
And the fun thing about Ks is that because it's an 11, master numbers are really no ego attached. It's literally in
The
this.
best. It's the best. Let's be real. A little bit of ego.
I mean, I think
Love
it's
it.
a cool letter for sure. And yes,
You know when
bias-
you write your name, you're like, yeah, that K. Someone says, can you sign your name? I'm like, yes, I can.
my signature now is literally just a K, and that's all.
That's all you need.
That's all I do.
I actually feel bad for people whose names don't start with K.
But for example, Victor over there,
Except
though.
V, yeah.
V-
Oh, you got K's and V's.
Well,
Okay, sorry. Tell us about Victor.
Victor containing a V. V is the 22nd letter.
Oh, that makes sense. That's why me and Victor get along.
Yo, and here's the fun part as to why, probably. And this
Okay.
is the spiritual standpoint of where I believe, where I come from
Yeah.
with it. In the research, a master number in your name is literally only a direct indication that you are an old soul, that you've done the human experience already enough that you are coming back this time with, in the case of a K, you've mastered the spiritual plane.
I already knew that. Mastered it.
Literally coming here preaching like good vibes and holding space for one another for connection. That is.
What's next?
And with Victor over here, because it's the
Yeah.
22nd, having a V in your name is not only a master of the spiritual, but also the material.
Ooh, that's why he's running all the stuff. Victor.
And that's why,
Respect.
exactly. I like, and this is just a fun tidbit that you go about your life from this day forth, and you maybe this information carries with you, and you meet someone with a K in their name or a V, and it doesn't even have to be those letters specifically. Those letters just are very, like I said, direct indications. When you do the full add up of someone's names, like Michael, for example, if you know any Michaels out there, and
Doesn't
again,
start with K.
doesn't start with K, but that is a name that adds up to 33, and that's as far
Okay.
as master numbers go.
Oh, well, I know some Michaels. They're all great.
They are usually pretty great, and usually pretty great in the sense of things come easily, in the sense of when we think of living a human experience already. Yeah, you're going to be pretty good at something that you've done rhythmically already, or it's already a rhythm for you at this point. Where
Cool.
which is like in your case, spiritually, you've done the work in previous lives to come in confidently here to be like, okay, I got that down.
Can I tell you my full name?
Oh, let's go.
Karim Campbell Sharif Gamal Abdul Rahman Rushdy.
Hot diggity.
Maybe after this episode, you can do the numerology on that.
Yo, yes.
That's the Egyptian way you say the name before and before and before.
Cool.
So that's how I would know who I am.
Is that on your birth certificate?
No. Kareem Campbell Rushdy.
No.
KCK. You're KVK.
KCK.
No, I'm not KCK. I'm KCR. What am I saying? Kareem Campbell Rushdy.
Well,
KCR. I wanted to be like you. See? It was a Freudian slip. Because I wanted to say one thing. I was saying earlier how, like, I want to just listen to people and not have my own thought. I've had my own thought for the past, 3 minutes, just waiting to say it. So I'll just say it. KVK. K is the spiritual mastery of 11. V is the material mastery of 22. Right? You are a spiritual material master of masters.
yo.
It makes sense why your videos are so smooth, but they also tell a story.
That's the goal.
This is KVK, everyone.
Yo, and here's the fun eerie part of
Okay.
that, which I'm happy to share. So Vaughn in my name, it's also not on my birth certificate.
Oh, okay.
It was something that I incorporated into to give myself more of this artist identity.
Okay.
But it was like heritagely, like in my lineage, it was there. It was stripped during it's Kleist is a German background.
Kleist. Okay.
Yeah.
I tried to do German.
No, I think you do it better than I feel like I ever
Okay.
could. But yeah. It's
So you brought the Vaughn back.
I brought the Vaughn back because
I'm bringing Vaughn back. Yeah.
You don't know. I don't know how others, like, I was trying to add to the song as far as you other brothers don't know how to
Bring it back.
Ooh.
You other humans can't bring names back. I'm bringing Vaughn back. Yeah.
Yo.
Let's make an album right now. You got my creative juices going. I'm ready to go. I can make a whole album just on numbers right now.
Yo.
Get ready for the next rap I write. It's going to be 65 divided by 22. Why divide when you can add, subtract? That's the basics. Let's get it back to the placeless.
Whoa.
If you want to try to get a facelift, try to rearrange your whole brain wave so you can understand what's beneath it. That didn't rhyme. Impatient. Ooh, that would be a cool rhyme.
You got it recorded.
Let's do a numbers song.
I'm down.
Okay.
I'm down.
Okay.
I'm so down.
So good.
Fudge. Vaughn, yes. I brought
Vaughn.
it back out of this internal desire to want to have some kind of deeper connection to my heritage. But it's also a side that is very much that I very much know little about because historically, as we all are still taught about, like, World War II was not okay.
Yeah.
But where, like, my grandfather immigrated after the war, he was like a kid during the war in Germany. Yeah. Very much being given the Nazi youth spiel, like having to work in, I'm pretty sure he was working in a bomb factory, like, as a youth. And weirdly enough, the day, like, this one day, which I'm sure we all can imagine, like, to be sick and to not go to this school/work for the day he was pretty sick, but the one day he didn't, like, that whole place got blown up.
Oh my God.
and was very much like just one of those life things of, okay, how am I here? Like, how is he here? How am I here? But of course, he, as soon as he could, he came over here.
Right. Wow.
But Vaughn, he already didn't have the Vaughn by the time like he was a kid. But I just knew it was there somewhere with the name Kleist. And people throughout my career, even in the film industry, when you get talking to crew members, especially on film crews or film sets, like feature films, where feature films are like summer camps in some way, because a lot of the time you're meeting people for the first time. So you're trying to get to know each other while you're making something. So in this case, it's, it was the producer at the time, who I have a lot of respect for, asked, so Kleist, is that German? And I was like, yeah, it is. Like, it's cool that you could
pick up on that.
Yeah. And I added that there was a Vaughn in there at some point, because I was, as a kid, when I was given that information, I was so confused as to how something like that could be stripped, or like, and the word strip being like it was taken away, like no more, like this name doesn't get that anymore.
Right.
And that producer was like, oh, that's really cool, and I worked with that same producer 3 more times, to the point where in the credits of the TV shows I was working on, they put Vaughn in the credits.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, yo, I like that. Like, I dig it.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it felt like, because I don't have the V naturally in my name, I up until that point, there was something about Vaughn that felt like, okay, I'm having to put my foot up onto like a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a
step up. Take a leap.
And I had just formed
Vaughn step for humanity.
Yeah. Vaughn for humanity.
Yeah.
At this point, it was, I just got my master business license for my like entrepreneurial, like I'm a freelancer as well, but I made it a business, like a sole proprietorship, and on the business license I was like, it's going to be Kris Von Kleist.
That's awesome.
And I decided that, made it formal there, and then I found numerology.
Oh, cool. I see what you're saying. The full circle moment.
Yeah.
Things sort of happened.
Yeah.
You embraced them.
And
then found out the significance of the V in there.
Exactly. And
dang,
there was some friction there of the internal insecurities of, like, is that okay? Like, am I allowed to just do that?
Can I just bring Vaughn back?
And at this point, I can confidently say with anybody, like with you sharing with me your full name, like back to the Egyptian. Did you see?
Yeah, the Egyptian way.
So dope, dope. It's like 100%. You're like, if you energetically, and I keep saying energetics, but it's like every human has its own atmosphere of energy revolving like around us. If you feel intuitively that like that is who you are, then all of those names are who you are. It's
I love that.
And when I do readings with people, when I write down their names, I always ask, like, yes, what was your name at birth, but like what are the names you are using now?
I should change my artist name on Spotify, so it would be so long. You can never see the whole thing because there's no screen big enough.
That'd be super dope. I want to see it written out first and foremost. I want to see.
I think I have written it out like maybe once when I was a kid, and I found out that was the way to do it.
Whoa.
But in my adult life, I've never written it down. That would be kind of fun to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because to me, it's like, especially in your background, it's part of, like, all those names are part of your lineage, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And in a spiritual sense, as far as your soul wanting to reincarnate, it's like, who's to say? And this is where interest in like reincarnation definitely comes into play in numerology. Like the Tibetans in Tibet, like they're all over this the Eastern world.
Yes, yeah. And in
Reincarnation.
Hinduism as well, yeah.
It's exactly. So it's like, who's to say that your soul hasn't been riding that wave of that lineage already, and like this is just your most recent manifestation experience where
Wow.
you're probably like for sure a completed soul in the sense that each number equates to a life lesson as well. And numerology, I just realized, I just remembered where we got on this train. It was from the energetics of money.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yo, thank you.
We just switched it to you being the host.
No.
Welcome back to Stratford Vibe Exchange with Kris Von Kleist, the host. For the third time, he said. Victor's like, why you keep welcoming people back? Because it keeps changing. We have to like, well, okay, so energetics of money. And then I want to ask you some practical questions.
Oh, yes. The actual reason why you...
Well, no, the reason is to exchange vibes. We
succeeded
succeeded before we started. Yeah.
Good to go. Energetics of money. Oh, yeah. Yes. In numerology, each one of those original 9 numbers correlate to a life lesson.
Okay.
A life lesson similar to any other faith or religion, your moral compass. Like, I only know Christianity fairly well because of my upbringing, but like similar to the 10 Commandments, like if you follow those 10 Commandments according to the Bible, like you should be living a really great, like good life for yourself and others.
Yeah.
In numerology, similar. Like there's 9 numbers, and each one equate to a life lesson. When I do my numbers, I'm missing, like in my name, each letter correlates to a number. In my name, I don't have a 7 and an 8. And before I added the Von, I also didn't have a 4.
Okay, so you brought in the 4.
I brought it in, which, so 4 is a number all about routine and learning the importance of a routine.
Ooh.
To the importance of a rhythm, which I can very much vibe with the struggle I had, and it's ever evolving. I'm only now at this point where I really crave this routine of how can I make my life like a heartbeat, you know, in breath. How do I make it so I'm still sustaining myself well enough?
That must be a challenge in the film industry.
Yo.
It doesn't sound like a routinely heartbeat sustained effort.
It's gotten me into trouble for sure.
Yeah.
It's but now I feel like I am on the other side of that unawareness to that. Where, yeah, and similar to what you were talking about earlier with feeling like a post-party depression vibe of achieving this certain, like,
milestone.
Yeah. And when I talk to people who also don't have 4s in their name, it's because their mission, or not their mission, but like one of their goals in this life is to really feel fulfilled in loving the routine of steps. Like it goes to, I definitely have gone down the rabbit hole of thinking about this phrase, what is the point? Because I've also in my life experienced very existential points in that confusion of like, what do I believe in and what is my faith? Like, what is the point? But when you think about a point is only when 2 opposing sides meet. And in a mountain sense or in a staircase, like you get up to that one point, but to make it a smooth enough travel up the staircase, you're going to make it flat. So it's a direct incline and then your flat line for what I think is the mundane. Like that boring part is the part that is going to make you re-energized enough to then make another direct 90-degree incline. So it's not even, at least, again, what I feel, it's not even about the point. It's just like similar to, it's not even about the journey. But that's the 4. 7 is spirituality. Like, in a past life, I died because I didn't stand up for what I believed in.
Oh.
Or I was the exact opposite, and I was over opposing of my beliefs. Like,
oh, wow.
It was, so this life, it's really about like learning, well, what is my spiritual compass? Like, what is my moral compass? My moral compass, and how is it calibrated? And being true to that.
Whoa.
And then 8 is the money number. It's the energetics of money, currency. And when you think of the word currency, it's like electric currents.
Right.
And current is always flowing, just like in water.
Yeah.
And that is how money is built. Like, that's why there's taxes. That's why there's receipts. That's why the government wants to keep putting everything on a card, because they want to trace what is going out and what's coming in, because that's the current that
it's flowing.
At least Canada's flowing.
Right.
And then when it comes to the individual, it's very much the same. It's like when we talk about an exchange of services, yes, I can help you do this video related job, but I want the money that I'm receiving to be coming from someone who is also aligned with the mission of that video, or very much agreeable and more than supportive of why the number is the value that it is, you know? Whoa. Because if I did, which I have, like I've taken jobs where I've asked for a certain amount of money and people make the comment, or have made the comment, like, oh, I reached out to you because I thought you would be cheaper. And there again, like the traumas of being perceived as a female filmmaker opposed to, you know, like a business oriented masculine external energy of a
right.
In those cases, like those clients that I worked with, even though they made that comment fairly early in the exchange, but still far enough that we've already put work into it, so like I'm still going to finish it and you still are going to pay me. And they did, but like the outcome of that project did not feel fulfilling whatsoever. Like it was left very, it was just left.
The energetics weren't established.
Yeah.
I'm trying to use the term.
Yeah.
Did that make sense?
Yeah. It's similar to what I do like about Stratford. Is very local oriented, or it's small enough that you can see where your money is going. Like by me going to a farm grocery store, like Organic Oasis, like I literally can see.
I just learned about that.
It's
shout out Organic Oasis.
Shout out.
Just tried your vegetables for the first time at a friend's house. And my friend said, you really got to wash these. And I thought, oh, that means they must be very organic.
Yeah. Fresh from their crops, usually.
Right,
and like
right.
everything that they curate in their store, like, you know, they're putting the care similar to the intent of what they named their store, you know? It's like right. You can literally see the farm. You can see the pigs if you're consuming meat. Like, it's nice to see the chickens free and roaming around.
Oh yeah, they're not controlled by an app. Have you heard of that?
Ugh.
That exists very close to us.
Ugh.
Huge buildings, and the farmer has an app. You just press a button and it feeds like 2,000 chickens at once. This opens a little gate, and then they eat. How wild is that? You press a button, lights off. Go to sleep, chickens, and then. And that's most of the chicken available. You know, like Popeyes, KFC. Everyone's doing chicken sandwiches, you know. Those cooked chickens at grocery stores and everything. It's just like, really? Is that what we're eating just from an app? Anyway, so yeah.
No, it's
organic,
related, though.
The energetics of it all. The energy.
Literally, because, yes, in that sense, if you were to buy a chicken or meat of a chicken from Organic Oasis, comparatively to, yes, going to Popeyes or even Zares, the chicken at Organic Oasis is probably going to be in what we would say more expensive, because the value of it being
Right.
priced.
Right.
Let's say it's $10, but you can also get chicken at Zares for $3
Right.
because it's on sale. But
Yeah.
the difference being, I can actually see where this chicken is,
Yeah.
and the energetics that this chicken is also cultivating in its life by like being more of a free chicken and not slumped.
Yeah,
in,
that
like, a
chicken probably had a name. Like that chicken was Johnny or whatever, you know, or Habib, you know. And they go, oh, there goes Habib. Buck, 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 buck. And then we eat Habib, and the energy's better than just a number. Ooh.
Just a number.
Ooh.
And especially for
That was chicken 65,000, 7,500.
whose life was probably exponentially escalated with hormones, like being fed all these things that we don't even know, because when we look at the ingredients of a chicken, it just says chicken.
Yeah, right.
But that's not even considering what the chicken ate.
Yeah, exactly.
And that all comes back to the energetics of it all, because it's like, yes, I'd be happy to pay more money because I know what I'm buying, like the vibe of what I'm buying. And same with when I say a price, like I'm going to say it because my self-worth is in calibration with like where I feel I'm at right now. That, yeah, my price tag, if it's not going to vibe with yours because it is too much money, then that's for the other person to figure out. Like, okay, like if that's not where you're at, that's okay. But
yeah,
this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm waiting, or I'm not waiting, but like I'm going to bring in the people who...
Have you ever had a client who asked you to charge more?
This is a shout out to all of my mentors and a lot of people that I work with now who are supportive and mentoring at the same time. I said mentors.
They're saying charge more.
Yeah, they're like, you can do more than this. And it's been self like doing research at home. Like I do a job and then I tally my energetics. This is the word of the entire
This is it, energetics.
chat.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I do a job for what I thought was a decent amount of money, but I finish it, like let's say I export it and it's now off to the client.
Delivered.
It's delivered. I then have to tally how burnt out I am and how empty is my bank account from the experience.
Yes.
And empty more so like, did this sustain me for the amount of time that I spent with it? And sustain me more, it goes back to like what I feel like is what I need. Did it help pay for the roof over my head? Do I have food in my fridge to also help sustain me? And did I allot for time off? Was I able to take time off for myself?
To keep that heartbeat rhythm going up to 4.
Yeah. So as in myself, I'm now at a point where I am working in a place where I do have something consistent, which in a rhythm is great.
Yeah.
Like in a routine. And this is how I've always functioned as an artist. Even when I went to film school, it was more of a question of, can I do this? Is this something I can do? Because again, like through the conditioning as well as where I grew up, attests to how far of a leap it felt for me to think that, oh, I could be a director of a story, of a film that could help either inspire or share a perspective that hasn't been seen or felt before.
Dang. We're going to have to do another episode.
Yeah.
This is the 11th episode with Kris Von Kleist. We're going to do episode 22 and 33.
Yo, that would be fun.
Because this conversation can go on, and we need it to go on. But I think for today, let's start wrapping it up, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
With
How
your
long
permission.
have we been here?
I don't know, but I just have to ask some. I'm not even going to do the chat GPT stuff. I'm going to do this. It's just very important, because you're a videographer. We need to know camera of choice. Sony, Panasonic, Canon, Blackmagic. See, Victor's just started listening for the first time in the podcast. No, just kidding. What's your camera of choice and why?
My answer, this is a really good question. And
Dun, dun, dun.
I'm definitely a techie coming to the table and getting excited by the choices. But my answer would be, give me any camera and any device.
Okay.
And
Okay.
what I need to make.
That's what we call energetics of camera choice. Dang.
We love them all. They all got their quirks.
I respect that.
Oh.
I think that's how we need to end this episode. Give me anything. Wow. I'm so inspired. Thank you. I'm really just so grateful you took time out of your rhythm to come here and spend time and be honest and open up and share and laugh and cry and, you know, exchange vibes together on the Stratford Vibe Exchange. Energetics. Oh, and one more thing. Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. I did need to say you reminded me of something when you talked about the ingredients in the chicken.
Yeah.
I think I know what you, because I give each guest like a term, a title. I think your title is the human ingredient aficionado. Aficionado? No, that's not the word. Human ingredients specialist.
Ooh.
Oh,
dude.
Human ingredient specialist.
Dang.
Put Stratford's before it. Stratford's human ingredient specialist.
I'm putting that as my LinkedIn.
That's who you are. Throw it on LinkedIn. You're done. Because that says a lot about your energy. You think about all the ingredients of the humans and trying to respect it all. And, you know, and don't put that stuff in the chicken. But you know what's more important than the chicken? The human. A human.
The being. Yeah, a human. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Respect. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Victor.
Yeah, Victor.
Goodbye.